Clara stepped out of her car, the tires crunching on the gravel driveway of her new home. The small town of Maplewood felt worlds away from the chaos of her previous life, a place where she could finally breathe after the storm that had swept her family away. The house loomed before her, an old Victorian with peeling paint and a sagging porch, but Clara felt an inexplicable pull towards it. As she walked through the creaking front door, the scent of aged wood enveloped her like an old blanket, comforting yet melancholic. Sunlight filtered through the dusty windows, casting a warm glow on the faded wallpaper that had seen better days. Clara placed her bag down and took a deep breath, feeling a mix of excitement and sorrow wash over her. This house, with its history etched into every corner, seemed to resonate with her own grief. Exploring the rooms, she stumbled upon the living room, where a grand fireplace stood as the centerpiece. A layer of dust covered the mantel, but Clara could almost see the family gatherings that had once filled the space with laughter. As she moved further into the house, she felt a strange connection to the previous occupants, as if their echoes lingered in the air. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Clara sat on the porch, lost in thought. The shadows stretched across the yard, and the chirping of crickets filled the silence. Just as she began to relax, a chilling breeze swept through, causing the hair on her arms to stand on end. In that moment, she felt something, a whisper carried by the wind that seemed to call her name, echoing in the depths of her heart. The following days blurred together as Clara settled into her new life in Maplewood. Each morning began with the soft rays of sunlight filtering through her bedroom window, and each evening ended with the haunting echoes of her memories. It was during one of her explorations of the attic that she stumbled upon a dusty, wooden trunk hidden beneath an old tarpaulin. Curiosity piqued, Clara opened the trunk, its rusty hinges creaking in protest. Inside, she discovered a collection of letters, their edges yellowed and frayed with age. They were tied together with a faded ribbon, and as she pulled them out, a sense of intimacy washed over her. The top letter was addressed to someone named Anna, written in elegant cursive that flowed like a gentle river. As Clara began to read, she was drawn into Anna's world, a narrative filled with passion and heartbreak. The letters chronicled a love story that had flourished in this very house, detailing joyful moments spent beneath the stars and the promise of a future that never came to be. With each letter, Clara felt the weight of Anna's emotions, as if the words were written for her own heart, resonating deeply with her lingering sorrow. The final letter, however, was different. It spoke of loss and regret, a poignant farewell to a love that had slipped through Anna's fingers like sand. As Clara read the last lines, a shiver ran down her spine. Just then, a sudden gust of wind swept through the attic, blowing out the dim light of her lamp. In the enveloping darkness, Clara could have sworn she heard a whisper, a name escaping the shadows, Clara. Heart racing, she glanced around, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. The air felt electric, charged with something beyond her understanding. Clara couldn't shake the feeling that the letters had awakened something in the house, something that bound her to Anna's story. She clutched the letters tightly, their parchment cool against her palm, and made her way back downstairs, her mind swirling with questions. Who was Anna? And why did her words resonate so strongly with her? As Clara pondered these mysteries, the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the floor, the whispers of the past echoing in her ears. That night, Clara lay in bed, the letters still fresh in her mind. The words floated around her, weaving a tapestry of emotion that pulled her deeper into Anna's life. As sleep enveloped her, she found herself slipping into a vivid dream. In this dream, she stood in a lush garden bathed in golden sunlight, vibrant flowers blooming all around her. It felt familiar yet surreal. Clara could hear laughter, a sweet melody that seemed to resonate with the warmth of the day. As she walked through the garden, she saw a woman, Anna, dancing joyfully among the blossoms, her flowing dress swirling like petals in the breeze. The sight filled Clara with a sense of longing and happiness, as if she were witnessing a moment that should never have been forgotten. Suddenly, the scene shifted. The garden darkened, and the laughter faded into sobs. Anna was no longer dancing, she was kneeling in the grass, clutching a wilted flower in her hands. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "Why did you leave me?" Clara felt an ache in her heart, recognizing the weight of Anna's sorrow. The dream shifted again, and Clara was standing beside Anna, feeling the warmth of the sun replaced by an oppressive chill. They were now in a dimly lit room, where photographs of a smiling couple adorned the walls. Clara realized these were snapshots of Anna and her lost love, each image a fragment of happiness now tainted by grief. As she stepped closer to the photographs, a cold wind swept through the room, sending shivers down Clara's spine. "Help me find peace," Anna's voice echoed in Clara's mind, a desperate plea that resonated deep within her soul. Just then, Clara jolted awake, her heart pounding. The weight of Anna's emotions lingered in the air, intertwining with her own grief. What had just happened? Clara's mind raced with questions. The line between her reality and Anna's past was beginning to blur. She needed to understand who Anna was, and more importantly, how she could help her find peace. As the dawn broke, casting soft rays into her room, Clara felt an overwhelming determination surge within her. She was ready to uncover the truth. The following day, Clara awoke with a sense of urgency. Anna's plea lingered in her thoughts, urging her to delve deeper into the past. She could no longer ignore the whispers of the house or the emotions they stirred within her. Determined, Clara grabbed her notebook and made a list of the local townsfolk who might know more about Anna and the history of the house. Her first stop was the Maplewood Library, a quaint building with tall, wooden shelves that smelled of aged paper. Clara approached the librarian, a kind elderly woman named Mrs. Thompson, who peered over her glasses with a knowing smile. "Good morning, dear. Looking for something special?" she asked, her voice warm and inviting. Clara hesitated for a moment but then shared her interest in the house and the mysterious woman named Anna. Mrs. Thompson's eyes widened, and she nodded slowly. "Ah, Anna. A tragic story, indeed. She lived in that house many years ago," she began, her voice tinged with sadness. "She fell in love with a young man from the town, but their love was torn apart by fate." As Mrs. Thompson spoke, Clara felt a sense of connection forming between her and Anna, as if the threads of their lives were woven together. The librarian shared snippets of Anna's life, detailing her heartache and the untimely loss of her beloved. "She never truly moved on," Mrs. Thompson added softly. "Many believe her spirit still lingers, searching for closure." Armed with newfound information, Clara asked if there were any local archives or records that might provide more insight. Mrs. Thompson pointed her to the back room of the library, where old newspapers and town records were stored. Clara thanked her and made her way to the dimly lit space, her heart racing with anticipation. Hours passed as Clara pored over the faded articles and clippings. She uncovered more about Anna's tragic love story, how she had waited for years, hoping for her beloved's return. Each piece of information deepened Clara's empathy for Anna's plight, drawing her further into the emotional web of the past. As Clara emerged from the archives, her mind was ablaze with thoughts. She had to find a way to help Anna, but how? The weight of the letters, the dreams, and now the stories she had uncovered felt like a call to action. She knew she was destined to uncover the truth, even if it meant confronting the shadows that lingered in the house. Clara left the library with a stack of notes and clippings, her mind buzzing with Anna's story and the echoes of a love that transcended time. She felt a deep connection to Anna, and a compelling urge to uncover the truth. Her next step was to find out what had happened to Anna's beloved and why their love had been severed so cruelly. Returning home, Clara spread her notes across the dining table. A photo of Anna and her love, taken on a sunlit day, caught her eye. They looked blissfully happy, their smiles capturing a moment that had once been filled with promise. Clara's heart ached for them both. She remembered Mrs. Thompson mentioning that Anna's love had been a local, someone who had known the town intimately. Clara decided to visit the town hall, hoping to locate any records of the young man. Upon entering, she was greeted by a friendly clerk named Mr. Jenkins, who offered to assist her. After explaining her mission, he nodded knowingly and led her to a file cabinet filled with old records. Clara sifted through the papers, her fingers trembling with anticipation. Finally, she found a name, Thomas Reynolds. The records indicated he had served in the war and had never returned home. Clara felt a lump form in her throat. This was the reason for Anna's despair. As she read on, she learned that the townspeople had mourned Thomas as a hero, but Anna had mourned him as a lover. Determined to find more, Clara asked Mr. Jenkins if there were any letters or correspondence from Thomas. He raised an eyebrow and gestured to a dusty box labeled "Letters from the War." Clara's heart raced as she rummaged through the contents, her pulse quickening with each piece of paper she unfolded. One letter caught her attention, addressed to Anna, filled with poetic words of love and hope. Thomas spoke of returning to her, promising a life together, but the letter ended abruptly, leaving Clara with a feeling of foreboding. It felt unfinished, much like Anna's life. With tears in her eyes, Clara realized that Thomas's absence had left a wound in the fabric of time, a wound that needed healing. She knew she had to find a way to honor their love and help Anna find peace. As she prepared to leave, the sun began to set, casting long shadows on the ground, whispering secrets of the past. The following day, Clara awoke with a newfound determination. The words of Thomas's letter echoed in her mind, igniting a desire to connect the past with the present. She felt the weight of Anna's longing and understood that she needed to bring closure not just for Anna but also for Thomas's memory. Clara spent the morning gathering supplies, candles, flowers, and a notebook filled with her thoughts and discoveries. She felt compelled to create a small memorial in the garden where Anna once danced in her dreams, a sacred space that honored the love that had flourished there. The thought of creating this tribute brought her peace, and she could almost hear Anna's grateful whispers guiding her. As Clara walked to the garden, she felt a strange energy enveloping her. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the very ground she walked on was alive with the memories of the past. She knelt down, carefully arranging the flowers she had brought, daisies, Anna's favorite, and bright sunflowers that mirrored the warmth of their love. Once the flowers were set, Clara lit the candles, their soft flickering flames casting dancing shadows. She took a deep breath, feeling a connection to both Anna and Thomas as she spoke aloud. "I honor your love, your pain, and your memories. May you find peace together, even if it's through me." As she spoke, the wind picked up, rustling the leaves around her, sending a shiver down her spine. Clara closed her eyes, envisioning Anna and Thomas together in that beautiful garden, free from the chains of sorrow. A warmth spread through her chest, a sense of acceptance filling the void that had lingered for so long. Suddenly, she felt a cool breeze sweep past, and with it came a soft whisper, "Thank you." It wrapped around her like a comforting embrace, and Clara opened her eyes, tears spilling down her cheeks. In that moment, she knew she had done something meaningful, something that transcended time and space. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, Clara felt a sudden chill. Shadows danced in the corners of the garden, and the air grew heavy. Had she really found peace for Anna and Thomas, or had she stirred something else within the house? Clara's heart raced as she sensed a shift, a lingering presence watching her, the weight of unspoken emotions still hanging in the air. That night, Clara found it difficult to sleep. The whisper she had heard in the garden replayed in her mind, echoing like a distant song. She lay wide awake, her thoughts a jumble of emotions, unable to shake the feeling that she had only scratched the surface of Anna and Thomas's story. There was still something unresolved, an energy that buzzed in the air, urging her to confront the past more directly. Around midnight, Clara decided to return to the garden, driven by a compulsion she couldn't ignore. Wrapped in a warm coat, she stepped outside, the moonlight illuminating her path like a silver thread. The garden, once vibrant, felt still and solemn in the night, as if the world had paused to listen. Clara approached the makeshift memorial, the candles still flickering softly. She knelt beside the flowers, placing her hand over them as she closed her eyes, focusing on her breath. "I need to understand," she whispered. "What more do I need to do?" A gust of wind swept through the garden, extinguishing one of the candles. Clara's heart raced. The sudden darkness felt oppressive, but she held her ground. As she opened her eyes, she felt an inexplicable urge to dig beneath the soil where the flowers had been placed. She grabbed a small trowel she had brought with her and began to carefully dig. With each scoop of dirt, Clara uncovered small remnants of a forgotten past, fragments of broken pottery and what seemed like a rusted locket. Her heart raced with excitement and trepidation. What secrets lay buried beneath her? Finally, she unearthed a small, tarnished locket. Gently, she brushed off the dirt and opened it to find a tiny portrait of Anna and Thomas inside, their faces beaming with love. Clara's breath caught in her throat as she realized this was a piece of Anna's heart, long lost but now returned. At that moment, she felt a surge of energy, a deep connection to Anna that was both exhilarating and frightening. Clara looked up, half expecting to see Anna's spirit beside her. "I found it," she murmured, her voice trembling. Suddenly, a chill ran down her spine, and she could feel the air around her shift, as if something ancient and powerful was awakening. The shadows in the garden seemed to dance more vigorously, swirling like a tempest. Clara knew she was not alone, and whatever presence lingered, it was time for her to confront it. As the shadows swirled around Clara, she felt both fear and determination. The presence in the garden seemed to pulse with energy, a mix of longing and sorrow that beckoned her to confront the lingering pain. Clara took a deep breath, clutching the locket tightly in her hand. "I'm here," she called into the darkness, her voice steady. "I'm here to help you both find peace." A gust of wind rushed past her, and she felt a sudden warmth, as if invisible hands were guiding her. The flickering candles reignited, casting a warm glow in the garden. Clara looked around, her heart pounding as she sensed the emotions swirling around her, the love that had once flourished, the pain of separation, and the lingering desire for closure. "Thomas," Clara spoke softly, her voice a gentle whisper against the backdrop of night. "I found your locket. I know about your love for Anna, and the promise you made to her." The air around her thickened, and she felt a change in the atmosphere, a subtle acknowledgement, a softening of the heaviness that had lingered for so long. "Your love was never forgotten," Clara continued. "But you both deserve to be free of this pain. You don't have to linger anymore. Let me help you find peace." As she spoke, the shadows began to shift and coalesce, forming a figure, a soft glow outlining what appeared to be Anna, standing before Clara, her expression a blend of longing and gratitude. "Thank you," Anna's voice floated through the air, ethereal and delicate. "I've waited so long. I didn't know how to let go." With tears streaming down her cheeks, Clara nodded. You can be free now. You've held on for so long. Your love is eternal, but you must embrace the light and let the past rest. Anna reached out, and Clara felt a warm breeze envelop her, wrapping her in a cocoon of love. Thank you for bringing us together again, Anna whispered, her spirit illuminating the night. Your kindness has given us a chance to move on. In that moment, Clara understood the true power of love. It transcended time, healed wounds, and allowed souls to find peace. With a final glance at the locket, Clara placed it back in the earth, a tribute to a love that would forever remain in her heart. As the figure of Anna began to fade, Clara felt a profound sense of tranquility wash over her. The shadows that once felt heavy and oppressive transformed into gentle wisps of light, drifting away like dandelion seeds in the wind. When the last trace of Anna disappeared, Clara knew the garden had been transformed. It was no longer a space of sorrow but a sanctuary of love and healing. She stood amidst the soft glow of the candles, her heart lightened, and the weight of the past lifted from her shoulders. Returning to the house, Clara felt a renewed sense of purpose. She would carry Anna and Thomas's love with her, sharing their story and reminding others of the power of love that can transcend even the deepest heartaches. With every step, she knew she had not only helped two lost souls find peace but had also uncovered her own path toward healing.